All right. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Goober Brothers, with the Goober Brothers. I'm Jared,
And I'm Vin.
and I can't talk. So today we're going to be playing Demio. It's kind of a Dungeons and Dragons mixed with magic virtual tabletop game.
Yes.
And while we're playing this, we are going to be talking about the evolution of games. Now, that's not just video games. We're going all the way back to the Stone Age where you just grab a rock and throw it and, going from there. So it's going to be a very chaotically fun, weird, just amalgamation of nonsense. Let's do this. Vin's going to be asking me questions, just kind of interview style, and yeah.
Whee!
So let's see.
Let you start up the game before I get the questions flowing.
No, you're good. You're good.
Be a hunter, a bard, a warlock. What you gonna be? Guardian, hunter. Those are my favorite combos for sure. And yes, the assassin, obviously.
Oh yeah, here we go. I haven't played this in so long.
You're gonna get your shit pushed in.
Oh, most definitely. That's why I started with the Black Sarcophagus. It's one of the easier, or the easiest one.
I've beat it.
You beat all of them?
Solo. No, I beat Black Sarcophagus solo. Yes.
Oh yeah, I have too. It's been a while, but I've done it.
Okay, so got to think about how I'm going to do this. By the way, we do not script these. This is all over the cuff.
Raw, uncut, fun.
So, I think how I'm going to address this is first, since I'm interviewing you, I'm going to ask you, how have games as a whole influenced you throughout your life?
So for me, games, they've, whether it be a board game or just going outside and playing basketball or something, they've kind of had it is a way of relaxing in and getting away from things. It's very similar to how, even this, VR games, they kind of help you just escape your reality for a minute. Things that's going on at school or work or wherever.
Oh, you're about to have a bad time. Speaking of which,
yeah,
that's everybody was just in one room apparently, including the key holder. Continue.
But yeah, so it was just one of those games of all kinds. I didn't really play a lot of sports. I played baseball for a couple years, but it was kind of a way of just getting away, having some fun and relaxing. I didn't try to play anything too strenuous or stressful because that's not what I play games for.
So what are some of the earliest games in general you remember playing, and how did that lead up to where you are now, being an avid VR gamer?
Well, some of the earlier games that I played was like, I didn't even get my first like virtual gaming system until I was a little bit older. I was probably about 16 before I even got my first gaming system. Which, for me, I was 16 in 2010. So that's not, at that time, that you had the GameCube, the PlayStation 2, and even when I got my first one, which technically was my dad's. My dad had a PlayStation 1. He played Medal of Honor on. I didn't really get to play it often. It wasn't something I was allowed to play. So most of my time was spent out in the woods because we lived in a wooded area, and I would go out there and climb trees and had to use my imagination. That was something that I don't think a lot of kids nowadays do. They just don't use their imagination for anything.
Yeah. They like to pretty much have things presented to them in full. You know, they don't do what we do. And I hate to sound like a boomer, and I really try to stay away from that mentality, but you know, we're both dads, and you know,
Yeah.
it's crazy. You know, they don't play games like we do. They don't watch Saturday morning cartoons. They don't go to the movies. They don't really watch movies. All they really do is just sit in front of YouTube or what, you know, insert random social media, and they kind of let the social media influencers kind of dictate how they think and feel.
Fuck. I didn't mean to hurt myself. Yeah,
Smart.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's one of the kids now, and I ain't saying it's all kids. And again, like you, I don't want to sound like a boomer. Wait, I want you to be dead. What am I doing? um,
Get in line. There's a list of people that want me to be dead. Oh, you're talking about him.
yeah, I was trying to heal the bad guy for some stupid reason.
You're just jealous of my beautiful head.
Yeah. Hey, cool, he's dead. Ooh, sound like freaking Homer Simpson. So yeah, I spent most of my time outside. You know, kids, you gotta, you know, when me and you was growing up, which, like I said, this was the early 2000s and late 90s. We had to be outside most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And if we parents had to make us come back in because we wanted to be outside.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, hey, time to come in. Oh, do I gotta? Now it's the other way around. Now it's, oh, you need to go outside. Oh, do I gotta?
Yeah.
It's complete opposite now.
You know, it's kids these days. You know, I love video games. You know, I think video games are a great way to improve critical thinking, hand-eye coordination, and social skills, especially when you play multiplayer games.
Yeah.
But you know, it's also good to kind of set it down and go out and do something. It's moderation. Everything's better with moderation. But that's the trickiest thing. You know, I want to be. I don't want to be the type of person who's like video games are bad, but you know, again, you don't want to. You don't want it to be the only thing you do.
Right.
You got to put the controller down and do something else every once in a while. I like that's one thing I think you and I are really good at is you know, we'll play video games, but we'll also like to go out and go hiking or camping, and we'll play other types of games. We'll play our card games. Shout out to Scream the Game, fucking love that thing. Or Cards Against Humanity or something like that. I'm surprised we haven't played more tabletop games like this because I actually like tabletop games. They're really fun.
One fell swoop.
Oh.
He's focusing right now, folks.
Yeah.
Don't forget the interview.
Yeah, no, you're good. Well, you did ask a question.
Well, I was waiting for you to follow up on what I had just said.
Well, yeah, no, we're not just, this channel, that's one of the things we haven't really established, is we're not just going to do video games and interviews. We're going to play tabletop games. We're going to go do some camping things. We're going to be doing a lot with this. It's not just going to be one of us plays a game and one of this. That's how it's starting off right now. You know, it's getting closer to the colder season, so it's hard to do certain things. But at the same time, it is getting a little cooler, which means it's going to be start to get easier to go do more things.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, you know, especially with us just getting started.
Side tangent, we're gonna be and you said you like these tangents, so I want to see what the comment section would say on this. But tomorrow, we are planning a photo shoot at a secret location we know of, and I was planning on filming some of it, behind the scenes. If anybody on this channel, here now or down the line is interested in us posting a video of the behind the scenes of our little photo shoot, as just kind of like a vlog behind the scenes type thing, let us know, and I'll save that recording and get it uploaded onto YouTube.
Yeah, we are, as much as I like video editing and stuff, I kind of do it for hobby. I just don't, if I got paid for it, I might make it full time, but it had to be, enough to support me and my family. This, I'm not really putting a lot of editing into. I want this as raw and uncut and natural as possible, so. That way, there's really not any mistaking what we're trying to do.
Speaking of mistaking of what you're trying to do, that right there.
Yeah.
So, were there any games from your childhood that particularly stood out to you as favorites?
So, actually, and it's not a video game, but one of my favorite games growing up was dodgeball. Even though I could not throw a dodgeball worth of shit, my hands at the time were so small. When I hit my growth spurt, I fucking hit my growth spurt. But growing up, I was really flexible and quick, and so you couldn't hit me. Like I mean, I even had the coaches in there playing this game, and I was always the last person on my team. I was also the last person picked on my team, but that's a different story. But no one could ever hit me. And now, granted, yeah, that can kind of suck the fun out because, one, I ain't hitting them either. I did eventually figure out some tricks, but it took way longer than it needed to. But yeah, dodgeball, that was one of my favorite games. And you can't even play that anymore. They don't even have that in school anymore because it's too dangerous. I'm like, no, duh. A little danger is not a bad thing. That's how you toughen up. That's how you grow up. That's how you learn how to be around social things and not get so easily offended. Get hurt a little bit. Get offended. That's how you build character.
For real, for sure.
And I think with video games, when video games really started, especially online video gaming, when it took off, the online part, yeah, you can do some cyberbullying, but you was able to, if done correctly, really expand your social boundaries. You could talk to people from all around the world, and you make friends that you would have never made in your day-to-day setting.
Yeah, I have
Did I die already?
Have friends. Yes. Good job. I have friends that I've never met in real life, but I have known for literal decades, that I've made through playing video games with them. I actually got the opportunity to actually meet one of them in person a couple years back. He lives in Georgia.
Oh yeah.
I drove to Georgia, so that was fun. I actually made that drive to Georgia not long after I bought my car, my Veloster. So.
All right.
Now, with this particular game, I never said I was good, especially because it's been damn forever since I played it. Yeah, these guys are just over here killing themselves.
Well, like we figured out with our last episode, sometimes it's hard to focus on what you're doing and have the conversation at the same time. But that's part of the challenge and the fun of the Goober Brothers, is we're just, we do things the hard way here.
Yeah.
Because fuck you, that's why.
There's no better way than the hard way.
I mean, that's what she said.
Exactly. Ah, fuck.
Yes.
This stuff will kill you.
I wasted my poison arrow on it.
Yeah, don't do that.
Okay, okay. No, I need you. I need you to go right over there. But yeah, I do see video games being helpful in certain aspects, but I think there does need to be, especially early on in your childhood, I think parents do need to monitor it a little bit and make sure if you're going to allow your kids to play games, especially online with other people, make sure it's going to be the right setting for them.
Yeah.
Introverted kids are not going to do well with something like this. As far as online, it might help them. It could be the other way around. It might be helpful to breaking them out of their boundaries and making them, well, not making them, but helping them adapt to more social standards than if you just throw them outside with people. So it could be beneficial, but it's got to be monitored. It's got to be. And I know my kid has his privacy. No, he's a kid. Kids need barely a little privacy. They've got to be watched.
Yeah.
It is the enemy's turn.
But yeah, I think dodgeball. Some of these games, going back to that for a second, I think dodgeball was one of those games where it was like a game of bullying, but you either toughened up or you suffered. It kind of forced you to be not so isolated.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. Are there any games that you didn't enjoy? Things that you tried? And again, broader than just video games, because little fun fact about our boy Jared here, he does not like, I wouldn't say hate, but he does not thoroughly enjoy video games without a VR headset, or as he calls them, flat screen games.
This armor will protect them.
Yeah, I really just play VR games. And I do this because if I'm playing a game, it's like I said earlier, if I'm playing a game, I am trying to forget about the world around me. I'm trying to calm down and relax from my everyday bullshit. And with VR gaming, I mean, if I look to my right, I'm in the game. If I look to my left, up, down, I'm still in the game. If I got a headset on, I can only hear what's in the game or if I'm talking to somebody. My literal world is gone, and I am just here. And this drastically helps. If you've got anxiety, I ain't gonna say it's gonna work for everybody, but I think VR is really good for people with anxiety because it takes you out of that world that is causing you anxiety.
Or a ball python.
Yeah, but
the subscribers are gonna be like, "What? That came out of nowhere.
That was random."
Less random than you would think.
Oh fuck! I didn't. I fucked up. I didn't heal him when I was supposed to.
You gonna fucking
but
die.
Going back to your question, a game that I really didn't like. So one of the games that now I actually enjoy, but it's specific. It's very weird because I enjoy playing the game virtually. I would not want to play it in real life. I get bored as hell watching it. Football. I cannot stand football, and here in Alabama, that is like blasphemy. But
yeah, football is life here, and not even the good football. It's college football.
But I just like it. Watching it on TV bores me. I don't enjoy watching it. I've tried playing it, but it's such a cop out for people to just be dicks and beat the shit out of you and be okay. And I don't like that. I don't like the fact that a lot of people just use it as a legal way of saying, I can give you a concussion, possibly kill you, and there's nothing you can do about it because that's part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes me really, I don't know.
Uncomfortable?
Yeah. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Oh
whoa.
God, we're in the table.
You little sir. But yeah, so football's just one of those games I just didn't really like, as far as
Fair
outside
enough.
games. But you know what's crazy? Is, there are certain games out there that... another game. This is a game I love. It's a love-hate relationship, and that's the only way I can put it. Is it's a love-hate relationship. Monopoly. I love playing Monopoly, but I only love it until I hate it, you know?
Fair enough. I've never been a big fan of Monopoly either. It takes way too long.
I like
and it is...
long games. I like games that can go on for a long time. If the game's too quick, it's just like it's that constant having to restart annoys me.
It depends on how much prep time there is. I like Life. If anyone's ever played the game of Life, I love that game. And I remember playing it, as a kid with my mom. It was a very influential game for us growing up. I have a copy of it. Like, it's sitting right by my PlayStation. We don't play it a lot, but it's a really good game. I enjoyed that game a lot. It usually goes better than my real life.
Yeah. I played Life once, and I did enjoy it.
Have some steel.
It's definitely it's definitely a fun and unique kind of.
It is a unique game. Another game I like, and these are some that I like not only trying to design, I struggle with them just because I don't have the time and resources, but I do generally enjoy these types of games, is these murder mystery board games.
Like Clue?
Like Clue, but see, there's specific ones. So ironically, I've never played Clue. But there's a subscription one.
I feel like you would love Clue. I feel like you would absolutely love Clue.
Maybe, probably. There's a game or it's a subscription style game actually, where you make a subscription and they'll send you a box for 6 months. It takes 6 months to play this. But it's called Hunt a Killer, and there's all sorts of different themes and murders and stuff you have to figure out. And every month they send you a box. It's about that big. That's another joys of VR. I can do size reference. I can say that big, and you actually get it. So, like, if this is the fucking game table, right? The boxes are about that big, right? So they're a decent size, and they got all sorts of stuff in there. And I'm talking like some really, really believable things. They're absolutely fantastic, and they're difficult. They're not like one of those you just go in and you're able to do it easily. It actually takes a lot of brain power. Which, again, some people are going to like that, some people are going to hate it. But I like games that make me think. And I mean, you can test that. You know how I am about coding, and even though I don't do digital coding, I like ciphers and stuff. And the Hunter Killer subscription series has a lot of ciphers and puzzles and stuff. I've had a few of their boxes. I've talked to them, and then you can get some at Walmart. There's someone you can get at Walmart that's really good. And sometimes you can find Hunter Killer at Walmart, but they have some standalone boxes you can get.
Yeah.
Typically, I think they're at Target though.
A little to the...
But yeah.
So have you ever gone to? All right. Well, so we've talked about games, all right, but let's step it up a little bit. So we've talked about games, but let's talk about something that falls in the line of games, but is a little bit bigger. Have you ever been to like events? Now I know you. Let's bring it a little bit. He's run his own events. He's coordinated his own events where huge groups of people come together to play these games. It's kind of a cheap question, but I'm trying I want to bring it to like outside of your control. Have you ever gone to an event that like, hey, this interests me. I want to see what this is like.
You know, it's crazy. I have actually never done that. I've always wanted to go to a event, whether it be like airsoft or a murder mystery party uh, or you know, even like a Renaissance fair or something. And we've got some down here in town. We got some Renaissance fairs that's been showing up past couple of months. But I've just never actually went to one, and I always thought it'd be fun. But I am one of those, I don't like doing things by myself, because I'm just like, I want to share everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like doing things where it's just me.
My cat is making a cameo.
Trying to find, you know, me and you live almost an hour apart, so trying to find people that I can take to go to certain events, it's difficult. Don't have the time, don't have the money, they got kids. You know, there's always a reason or an excuse. And so I'm like, I haven't really got a chance to do anything like that. And that kind of sucks.
So not in your past either?
No, I've never been to anything.
Interesting.
Not that I can recall off the top of my head anyway.
So let's talk a little bit. Let's get a little bit of history going. What can you say as far as what you know as far as like how games began and what they became now?
So, like, okay, might need to elaborate your question a little bit. Like,
So like we're kind of covering your personal knowledge of the, you know, how games have evolved, what they started out as, and what they have become now.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you go back far enough, games started off as, you know, whether you're a kid or an adult, you go outside, you get 2 sticks off the ground, and you go, hey, let's play swords. You know, as far back like when I was a kid, you know, you could go outside, grab 2 sticks. If one was shaped with a little bit of a bent, guess what? That's a machine gun. You know, if this one is really long, yeah, you could get some tape or something, get 2 sticks together. Now you got a long sword, like, but this guy, well, he's got a thing. But you know, you could get these things, and you didn't actually have to go to Walmart and buy a fake sword or a gel blaster. Like, literally, a stick is your favorite thing. It could be anything. You like Star Wars? Guess what? It's a lightsaber now. It didn't matter. Hey, you want a grenade? Pick up a rock. You know?
Throw it at your best friend's head.
And
Sure
you
to
know,
get him in the head.
Yeah. But you know, times were different. You know, you could get. Well, we wasn't use a rock for a grenade. That was a bad example. We'd use a pine cone.
Pine cone.
Yeah,
Pine cone.
we'd use a pine cone. But yeah, like, it was such simpler times. And honestly, I mean, as much as I love video games, this is just no compare. They're getting there. Like, there are certain VR specific video games where it's like, hey, I want to be able to shoot someone in my imagination, and it'll be okay.
In his imagination.
But yeah, you got games like Pavlov and Call of Duty and stuff. Or there are games like that, but when you get something like Pavlov, where you can actually hold the gun, you can cock the gun,
so much.
You can
Pavlov
aim the gun.
So much fun.
You can't get that in real life without actually killing somebody. So there are certain good things out there that I much prefer VR, because it just takes what you got in your head and makes it a safe reality.
Yeah.
And that is, yeah. But you know, when we grew, I don't know about you, because you know, I grew up here in Alabama. You grew up in Washington, Philly, and not as great places like I did. I had compared to you, I had a stabler childhood.
Yeah. I
Well,
had some personal things that happened in my life that prevented me from enjoying my childhood as thoroughly as other people have. Let's just put it like that.
yeah, I put it simple, but we ain't going into our life stories that much. Not that deep today.
Not today.
All
Maybe
right, we
maybe
got.
down the line.
Did I lose everybody except for? Fuck. Okay then.
Let's see what the monsters say.
Bitch, where the hell did you come from?
Oh,
Getting
you
my
look like you're having the time of life. Oh,
I'm
and you're
a-
down
Enemy will
again.
be vanquished.
Get my shit pushed in.
You gotta love when these games just turn into, you know, just healing your character over and over again because you can't get any moves in because you're constantly healing your character over and over again.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
I kind of wish, just I understand the challenge of, you know, having certain amount of moves, but I wish just for the power fantasy as an alternate mode, they would make a game mode where you don't have an action limit.
Yeah. Wait, you don't have an action. What are you talking about?
So you have a certain amount of actions with each character you do, right?
Yeah.
So there's no limit. You can just, well, no. That would, no, because then you could endlessly go. They could raise it up. Instead of 2 actions, it's like 5. Just for the power fantasy.
Okay, well,
that-
I got past that. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, you know, just make it where it's. Maybe I don't got that. Hold on, what?
Are you confused?
I think I zoned out somewhere.
Okay, so as the game stands right now, each character has 2 actions, right?
Yes. Oh, so you mean like they
Yes.
have like 3, 4 actions instead of just 2?
It'd be like 5.
Okay.
I almost went, there is no actions, period. But no, then you could just endlessly go and the turn would never end. So just raise the action points up, just so you could have a little bit of that power fantasy.
Yeah, even if you made it like an upgrade, like you get 1 extra move. Now I know this.
I was thinking alternate game mode, just like, do you want more actions or less or not? You know,
If you want more actions, it's harder gameplay. But
easier gameplay.
oh,
It would be easier with more actions.
all right. Let me see here. All right, we'll buy that. How many? I got 623. Let's buy that. Let's buy that.
Kindly. That one is a real bargain.
See, lets you perform 1 more additional move.
Yeah.
My favorite, that one.
Okay, next.
And I'm gonna pull those out of his way.
Thank you kindly.
Hang
That
on, we're
one
gonna
is a
pull
real
these,
much
buddy,
obliged.
so that you don't get. There you go. So you don't get
Purchases
trapped.
of file. You won't find a better. Excellent choice.
So what's your next question?
It's,
So,
good
let's
purchases.
see here.
My favorite.
Trying to think here. Okay. All right. Well, let's.
We had a quiet moment there for a second.
Yeah. I'm trying to think here. Let's get a little uncomfortable here.
All right, yeah, that's fine.
All right. So, this is not for me. I know, but maybe our subscribers would like to understand a little bit more because this is something that's so common, but not necessarily for you or for other. You know, what is it about your more common video, standard video games like racing and shooting games that you personally struggle with? Because these are both incredibly popular genres of video games, something that pretty much everyone does and is good at in some level that you personally really fucking struggle with. Help our subscribers understand that a little bit.
Okay, so for me on video games, specifically FPS, first-person shooter games, I don't know if you've ever paid attention to my thumbs when I play games. My thumbs tend to, you know how on a thumbstick, how sometimes you have stick drift,
Mm-hmm.
where it gets stuck and it just wants to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my thumbs have a similar thing. Whenever I'm using joysticks, my thumbs they lock. So if I go to the left or the right, it's all the way to the left, all the way to the right. I can't do like subtle movements, or it's like if I'm doing the like I'll use my hands here. If you can you see my hands? Okay.
Yes.
So instead of my thumbs doing this, right, where you can do some really good aiming, my thumbs, because of the way they jump and lock, they go. They jump and lock in place, so it's either left, right, up, down. They don't have a subtle fluid motion. I don't know why. It's just they are very stiff, and so that makes it very, very difficult for me to aim with a joystick.
Yeah.
And because every time I try to make a subtle movement, it just jumps up, and then I can never seem to get it right. Now with racing is weird. So I can do flat screen racing. I do flat screen racing probably a good 50% of the time. But so like I play a lot of Gran Turismo, track racing. You don't go off the track, you don't go through the woods and stuff like you did with Crew. When I'm racing, I like it to be as real as possible. That way I can use what I know. I can use my knowledge of cars and how cars act to really get a sense of how to race better.
Okay.
But with games that are very arcadey and it doesn't follow standard physics and the laws of racing, it's like, if I was to do this in real life, I'd be dead in like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And my brain, I don't know if it's, I don't understand it completely, but my brain just has a hard time processing the fact that my car is defying laws of gravity and physics. You know, if it goes up, it should come down. It shouldn't go up, flip around, spin around, come back, land on top of it, so it flip back around. No, this Fast and Furious bullshit. My brain just goes, no, this is overwhelming. I don't like it. This isn't right. Maybe I got a touch of the tism or something. I don't know. But it's just very chaotic things, and things that should not be chaotic make me very uncomfortable, and I have a hard time staying focused and calm. That's the biggest thing, is games that like that, FPS games and chaotic racing games, they piss me off because they're so chaotic. And when I get irritable at a game, if I'm getting angry while I'm playing a game, I lose complete interest in the game.
Fair enough.
I don't rage game. I do not like with you. If you get mad at a game, you use that anger to fight through to get better. When I get angry, because I don't want to throw my controller, because I have a bad habit of throwing shit when I'm mad. Luckily, I've never threw anything at anybody, but it's just my natural instincts to throw, and I really can't afford to be throwing my controllers. So, if I get pissy at a game, I have to put it away and calm down. That, and on top of the fact of, growing up, being epileptic, my seizures were stress-induced, so I had to do whatever I could to stay calm.
Yeah.
And if a game was stressing me out, I had to stop. Otherwise, the game itself could put me in a seizure, because I'm not photosensitive, like a lot of people are that have epilepsy. So, it was always stress-induced.
That makes
So
sense.
that's a more roundabout reasons of why I don't do it. It's not that I don't enjoy the games or don't think they're good games. It's just, if it stresses me out too much, I have to turn it off. Or if it's so unrealistic that it doesn't keep me immersed.
I think you kind of described a big difference earlier between the two of us. Is you're correct. I am somebody that uses that frustration in everything I do to push through and keep going. There's very few games that I got so frustrated with that I said, no, I can't do this anymore. I just kind of pushed through. and I kind of suffer through it just because I don't want to give up. I don't like giving up.
Yeah, I
And
don't
so,
like giving up. I absolutely despise the fact of people giving up just because they are not good at something. Just
yeah,
because that's why it's called practice. I'm a strong believer in practicing things, but it's also knowing your limitations. You know, it doesn't
yeah,
matter how good, how much you practice at something. If you are just not able to do it, you're not able to do it.
yeah, yeah.
And that's just for me for FPS games. I can practice all day. I know how the game works, but my thumbs won't allow it. And the same with crew. I can practice all day, but I mean, I like what I like, and I dislike what I
No,
dislike. I can
fair
acknowledge, and
enough.
I've told you this in the past. I acknowledge that the crew is a fantastic racing game. I mean, it is on par with like Need for Speed Heat and stuff. It is very well. Just not my thing.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
And
So,
even Gran Turismo, which we'll be playing that
Sharp and my
next
shin
week.
steady.
But you know, Gran Turismo has its moments where it's just absolutely frustrating, and I will turn the game off if I get too frustrated with it.
oh yeah,
Because I'm sitting here and I've done a race 3, 4, 5 times. Oh fuck! And I'm not, you know, out of 20 cars, I'm not getting past 15th place. I'm like, all right, this is beyond my skill level. I need to get better at racing before I tackle something like this.
I did that with Gran Turismo recently. I had to do the K series races with the K cars,
Yeah,
and there, you know, I dumped modifications into one of the K cars. I mean, and the thing with K cars is they're like sub 100 horsepower cars. They're tiny little things, and even if you turbocharge one and tune it and all that, it's not going to have a ridiculous amount of horsepower.
yeah,
And so I just did not have the power I needed to power through and overpower the other cars. You know, the GTR I have is ridiculous. Like, other cars will be driving and the GTR will fly past them like they're standing still. And that's what I like in a race. I like to absolutely just mollywop the competition, to be like miles ahead of them, because it's a power fantasy. And
yeah.
in the K series races, I just could not do that. I just tried, I couldn't. There's no amount of modifications I could put into those cars to make them. Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah. And sometimes, like I said, yeah, there are races where it doesn't matter how fast your car is. If you don't know how to race the track the way it needs to be raced, you're just not going to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I'll yeah. Gran Turismo 7 is a very, very, very technical game. And it's funny because in real life, I actually race cars. And I'm very technical in the way I race my vehicles. You know, my car isn't a super high horsepower vehicle. It's got 245 horsepower and it's turbocharged.
Yeah.
But I drive it in a very technical way through lots of tight corners. And I'm not. It's not always about being straight, you know, straight line racing or overpowering my opponents. I like to outdrive my opponents. But in a video game, when you got a very technical racing style like Gran Turismo, I'm like, I don't want that, because that's something I can do by hopping in my car and doing that in real life. I want something crazy. And so, yeah, the more fantastical element of the crew, where I'm able to just fucking leave the opposition miles behind me and, power through and slam my rear end into fucking walls and fucking go flying through the air on jumps. That's just what I like in that sort of crazy, more chaotic racing, as opposed to the more technical stuff that
Yeah.
Gran Turismo 7 is. And that's the type of stuff that overwhelms you.
Yeah, and I think that's just the difference in the way we game is, you know, things that overwhelm me excite you, and things that uh, overwhelm you or make you just go, no, we're just backwards.
Yeah.
I am healed.
How are we looking on time?
45 minutes.
Oh wow. the last step, my ADHD is kicking in. This is the second video of the day we recorded, and trying to squeeze out this topic. All right, let's talk about the games. The game you're working on right now. That's what we'll do.
All right.
That's what we'll do.
Demio.
All right. So how's the session going? You got a lot more cards than before.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games that also, this is kind of like Gran Turismo and Crew and all these games, where it's a board-style game. You know, you got tokens, you pick them up, and they've all got their own perks and everything. Oops. They got their own perks and shit. And you have to go through and collect chests to get these cards, which this is where it's kind of like Magic. You got cards. Which I don't know, D&D might have cards, I don't know. I've never played D&D.
D&D does not. The way I played it does not have cards.
I know they got like character cards, but they don't have abilities.
This is like a mix between Magic and D&D.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's kind of, that's what most people describe it as. This is one of those games I'm not necessarily good at, but I enjoy playing from time to time, and it's a lot more fun if I'm playing with somebody.
It's so much fun.
Typically, you would be playing this with me, but for the concentration and less tangents. Yeah,
when we do Pavlov, we're gonna be playing together for sure.
Yeah. When we get to Pavlov, we'll do that, and we're not gonna spoil, you know, the topics or anything. But you know, we talked about just, you know, how games are different. We've talked about the board games. We've talked about, you know, how things have changed where, you know, used to you could go out and play with a stick, and then it was when video started gaming, graphics weren't that great. Now let's talk about the actual evolution of the games themselves.
Yeah,
video games.
This is the big crescendo. So we're talking about now. Are we talking about the evolution of games as a whole, or are we talking about video games specifically?
For the organization of the video, let's just stick with video games. You know, starting with like, you know, Pong. Yeah.
Pong. I don't know if that was the very first video game ever created, but it's a good baseline. You know, we're talking about the most rudimentary of graphics, a line and a small square. It wasn't even a circle, and it would go, bounce back and forth. People would play this game for hours, which is crazy to think about, because you got people now complaining if a game lasts 4 hours with a whole bunch of shit going on the whole time, because that's not long enough. But back in the day, people would play these two lines going up and down, bouncing this little square back and forth. They would play that for hours. They would have tournaments and record setters and all this sorts of crazy stuff. And then we would we would take a small step forward to the Atari 2600, which had very similar sort of square retro style graphics. Well, it wasn't retro back then, where you could barely make out the shapes they were trying to represent. Fun fact, the first ever Friday the 13th video game was on the Atari 2600. And Jason was purple and blue.
Yeah, and, you know, even like, you know, horror characters, they had, a lot of them had video games. There's really only been, you know, Friday the 13th has had a video game. Nightmare on Elm Street's had multiple games. Which have been so Friday the 13th. I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre's had like 2 or 3.
Yes, Texas Chainsaw Massacre actually had one on the Atari as well.
But you know, and you'll hear us bring this up a bunch in videos, because honestly, for both of us, this is our favorite. Scream has not had really any games.
No, it's so fucking stupid. We're going on a tangent again, but yes, Scream has not had a legitimate good. I would want a single player Scream experience. Something that plays very similar to, say, Until Dawn, or the that anthology series they've come up with, where you play as the different characters and try to find out which one of you guys is Ghostface.
Yeah.
But
I
I don't
think
want it to be another multiplayer thing because I'm sick of the asymmetrical multiplayer bullcrap.
you
No.
know, Clue has a tendency to get, themed games. I mean, they've got the one Scream game now that, we'll play that in a video at some point.
Yeah.
But, even if they had a Scream themed Clue game, I think that
That'd
could
be
be.
awesome. That would be awesome. That would be freaking awesome. But it would always be Ghostface with the Buck 120.
Or no, you gotta think. That's the thing. It doesn't always though. Sometimes he has the Buck 120. I mean, in Scream 6, he had the shotgun. He's very adaptable to his surroundings. So, but yeah, I think there's so many branches of games you can have, and I think there's just I don't know if it's a licensing issue or what, but
I'm not sure. But we got off topic.
well,
So then,
kind of. We're still talking about games.
okay. So the evolution of video games. So then we went from, the Atari 2600 type of generation. We moved up to like the Super Nintendo, or is it?
I don't know the exact order,
NES. NES was first, and then NES, and then Super Nintendo. And these graphics slowly became more and more identifiable. They kind of represented what they were. Gameplay started becoming more and more complex. By the time we hit like the Sega Genesis, I mean, these things were looking crisp, really good, and
And
the
you got to think
gameplay
how
was getting more
quick too.
complex.
This is in less than 10 years.
Video games almost died, actually. There was a huge decline in video game sales, and the video game industry as a whole almost went bankrupt. But then they bounced back, and then we got things like the Nintendo 64 and the PlayStation. And it just got, and I remember, God, PlayStation graphics look so fucking bad. Hot take, I think PlayStation graphics, the original PlayStation, its graphics have aged worse than, say, like the Sega Genesis graphics, which still look good to this day. Like those polygons did not look good at all.
And now they're just making that polygon style everyday life with, like, the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
It looks like a PlayStation 1 SUV.
Jump forward in time, games these days are coming out and they look like actual real life. I mean, some of these games, like the Uncharted games, Last of Us, the Horizon games, these games look, you can see the individual hairs and pores on some of the characters' faces. The new remakes of the new Resident Evil remakes have such fine detail to these characters. It's crazy how good they look. It is absolutely crazy how good they look.
So much so, it's like, and this is also where it gets dangerous, though, especially in the VR setting. The more realistic a game, yes, the more immersive it is, because it's realistic, because you genuinely believe in your mind that's where you are. And then you get back to the real world and you're like, this sucks. So video games, as helpful as they are, they're also just as hurtful, because especially if you have a hard time coming out of one and going, oh, which is very easy to do.
Yeah.
It's very easy to want to be in a video game more than your actual life, when honestly real life has so much it can offer.
Yeah.
But these games, they ruin us. They ruin us in such a good way.
We've been spoiled as a generation that gets to enjoy the modernity of games as they are now.
Yeah. I love them, but man, there are times where, I'll be honest, I miss the old ways. As much as I love video games, there are times I miss the old ways.
So, all right, I think we've stretched this topic out as far as we can. How do you feel about wrapping up and getting some uploads going?
That's new. Yeah, we're at 55 minutes, so we can go ahead and kind of start getting our conclusion. You know, obviously we go on some tangents here. And for a lot of podcasts, I can see how that would be annoying, but at the same time, you know, I think it's cool to have the tangents. You know, it's more personable. It sees how our brains work, which is very chaotic. And in a world where everything's chaotic, hey, most of us are gonna be able to keep up with it. We're staying on topic for the most part.
Yeah.
Monster time.
But yeah, I mean games. I mean, from the dawn of time where it's just rocks and sticks, to now you have
For glory.
these virtual worlds that is just so realistic that you can't even tell the difference between them in real life anymore. And all in such a short period of time. I mean, video games specifically, I mean, they've only been around for what, 35 years? Really? I think Pong came out in 75, or 74. So,
Yeah.
so about 50 years they've been around. But that is a huge step for
Oh, yeah.
50 years. That's ridiculous. But I would, you know, if at some point we have a parents or kids or something, go outside, get your friends together, go outside and make the games real. Don't hurt each other. You know, don't beat a kid with a stick because you think, hey, it's an actual sword. No, but you can sit there and hit the sticks together. And, you know, they might break, you might get a splinter, but that's okay.
You want to play an FPS? Grab some gel blasters.
Yeah, gel blasters. That's a good start, you know, if you're young. There we go. That's good. Bitch. But, yeah, I think we're going to call it. If you like the video, make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you can see some more of our stuff. Go back, look some more of our older things. You know, zombie apocalypse, racing. We're going to have everything. If you want to see more of this stuff, kind of leave a comment. Say, hey, what do you want to see? What's some video games you would like to see? What's some topics you would like to be discussed? And if you've managed to watch this whole video from start to end and you didn't get completely bored, which is awesome, leave us a pickle emergency. Pickle emergency. Wow. Pickle can you say this word for me? Emoji. Okay, thank you. Leave a pickle emoji. That's kind of a thing. Long story. But, yeah. We will catch you in the next one. Hope everyone's having a great day. And thank you for watching the Goober Brothers.
Goodbye.
Bye.